Greetings and welcome to Media 7. We are excited to have someone who carries a lot of experiences with the finance sector, and that is just not for the benefit of himself, but for the whole wide world. This personality believes in sustainability alongside profitability, which is indeed a delicate balance, and we need to learn a lot from it. He is a chairman and CEO of GMEX Group, and we'll be talking about DeFi, we'll be talking about exchanges, blockchain, digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and lots more. There is so much to talk about this person, but before that, let me just mention that he is also a holder of Hind Ratan, also known as the Jewel of India, one of the highest awards granted annually to non-resident personals of Indian origin in recognition of their outstanding services, achievements, and contribution in their respective fields. Wow, this is amazing. It's such an honor and a privilege. Welcome to the chat, Mr. Harinder Misra. How have you been?
Very well, and it's a pleasure to be here, Ayush, and looking forward to the interview.
Thank you so much. For those of you who joined us, I would like to stress on the fact that he has studied economics history, something that I'm also interested in as a history student. Really enjoy myself looking into the past, learning from that a lot. And I've gone through your TED talk as well, and the way you have emphasized your belief towards democratizing wealth, that's immense. That's really, really wonderful and really admirable. So I believe you also mentioned that you worked with Router back in the day in '96 as well. You also mentioned that. So that's a small little introduction of Harinder from our side. However, we'll move on with the question. So could you please tell us a bit about yourself, apart from the introduction that I've given all to the audience? How are you able to manage the 9+ years of GMEX Group as a CEO? Please.
Yeah, I mean, this year at the end of May, GMEX will be 10 years old. So time flies, as I say, when you're having fun. So within the financial markets industry, on the broking and then primarily exchange side, I've had 26 years of experience, and the last 10 years of that have been with GMEX Group. And it's very, very interesting because it's harnessed my background in kind of setting up and building exchanges and electronic trading platforms, and then now across asset classes, enabling exchanges across the world, with some interesting projects that span from India to the US and Vietnam and many other places. So it's been a privilege to be involved in a global enterprise that's B2B because one, it allows us to work with a multitude of players that are very diverse across the world. And more recently, over the last 5 years, as you stated, digital assets as a democratization tool have really become interesting as a B2B and a B2C tool. And there's a lot of work that we're doing in that area as well. So, you always think when you co-found a business at the outset that, yes, there's going to be a 5-year time horizon, but, 10 years on, we're still having fun, and we can see we can see many more years to come.
Absolutely. The industry itself has graduated to a whole new level. We're looking at opportunities that were quite unbelievable back in the day. And similarly, I would like to move on and ask, how has Global Markets Exchange Group Limited, that is GMEX, changed the fintech experience for its clients, so to say, in recent days?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, as you know, this has been the interesting thing, whoever you spoke to across the world, the pandemic has really brought people closer together, even though we've been further apart. I know there's been a multitude of online video calls, etc. But in many ways, for fintech, it's been really, really good for those that could take stock and say, okay, we're in a pandemic. Initially, everyone was panicking. If you go back to March, April 2020. But actually, us as an organization and others saw this as a real opportunity to say, okay, the world is changing. How do we evolve with it in terms of what we do and the services that we provide? So initially, for a few months, there was taking stock, but then also as the world recalibrated, a lot of thought leadership and discussions with other fintech leaders about how we could work in terms of what we were doing, much more collaboratively. So, there's competition as well, but, that there can be positive collaboration because fintech's very broad. You can't do everything, and you have areas of expertise. Ours is, for example, digital market infrastructure, enabling kind of financial markets players. But you then have payments, you then have structured finance, and a multitude of other elements. So we spent a lot of time fostering those partnerships with the likes of Amazon Web Services and IBM, as well as more established as well as newer neo players, and that's been really good because actually we're beginning to see this sort of fragmented landscape where there's multiple blockchains, there's multiple traditional infrastructure come together a lot more cohesively. So the pandemic presented a real opportunity, and when backs are against the wall, things present themselves in a positive fashion as well.
Absolutely. Even I kind of sense the hybrid culture of industries as well, because my next question is somewhere on a similar line. With the integration of technology for businesses of exchange and trading venues, what more requirements are pending for providing services to the clients?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting because obviously traditional finance is well established and across a multitude of asset classes, securities, commodities, FX, derivatives, digital assets, etc. But there's a multitude of exchanges, there's a multitude of brokers and banks and other participants as well. Obviously, the asset managers. Now, it's really, really interesting because these traditional players, especially on the institutional side, now increasingly want to get into digital assets, but they want to do that in a way that is cohesive and works well with their traditional businesses. So, again, you can't throw away lots and lots of existing technology. The challenge is always, how do you evolve and how do you get into new ways of doing things in new asset classes? So we're seeing this as a real opportunity in our industry, and the ability to then bring some of those players on the institutional side steadily into new digital asset classes and new business models. And ultimately, it's got to boil down to revenue opportunities for them as well, because it's got to be good for us as a service provider, but also good for them in terms of what it can do for them.
Right, absolutely. And I would love to go back and congratulate you once again on receiving the prestigious Hirander Award. For those of you who don't know, it's one of the highest awards granted annually to non-resident persons of Indian origin in recognition of their outstanding services, achievements, and contribution in their respective fields. Harinder, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's very privileged in terms of receiving the award. A great privilege indeed. My grandfather came to the UK 1 year after partition in 1948 from the Punjab in India. And then obviously we established ourselves here. My parents met here, but we've maintained really strong bonds with India. We have a place in Chandigarh and Faridabad, for example, as well. And there's been regular visits, and I've also been privileged. During the heart of the pandemic, Indian Energy Exchange launched India's first gas exchange. Working with the Ministry of Energy, and is privileged to be involved in that. So, both at a personal level and on a work level, maintain very strong links with India. So, for that to be recognized is a great privilege. And, I see lots of opportunities in terms of that India relationship back into the UK where I'm based, but also globally as well. I mean, obviously at the moment, Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, is visiting India. And there's lots of trade talk, but those bilateral relations are strong, and it's good to solidify those with this personal award as well.
Absolutely. As Prime Minister Johnson said, it's one of the best moments and one of the best deals they could ever have with the Indian government, which is obviously the Indian government on the seldom side welcomes the opportunity at hand. But given the changes in today's rapidly evolving businesses, so what do you think are the key circumstantial changes taking place in your industry? Like what systematic approaches are you using to monitor these economic changes?
Yeah, it's a really amazing time in our industry because obviously technology has to be used not for technology's sake, but as a business enabler. But we're in a situation now where we've got so many new technologies at the same time. Again, blockchain, artificial intelligence, IoT in terms of the Internet of Things, the movement to Web3 as well. And obviously, for businesses, the challenge is, how do we harness some or all of these and create opportunities? That in itself presents a great opportunity for financial technology firms like us in our own right. And, as I mentioned, through partnership. So, we're really seeing a good opportunity where, digital assets and digital finance will increasingly converge with traditional finance. So, DeFi in terms of decentralized finance and TradFi in terms of traditional finance. And we're going to see effectively what I call and what I've deemed to be a concept called hybrid finance or hi-fi. I've certainly written articles on this because both as a silo can't necessarily operate. The two have to converge and come together. This also means infrastructure has to interoperate, whether it's existing infrastructure on the traditional side and networks like Swift and other technologies that the banks and asset managers and exchanges are using, but that's got to come together with multiple blockchain networks as well. So we're going to see a lot of action in that middleware layer as well to bring together these fragmented elements and join them into a cohesive whole.
Wow. Something to really look forward to. Absolutely. I won't take much of your time. My last question, with varying and increasing digital assets demand, what are your predictions for this year 2022 with respect to digital, crypto and blockchain?
Yeah, very interesting because at the start of every year I come out with five predictions, and they're generally well received, and then look back at the end of the year on how we fared in terms of those predictions. So, in terms of key elements, this traditional finance, centralized finance, and decentralized finance convergence is one prediction, and there's going to be an increasing amount of activity during the course of the year in that space. The other thing is market infrastructure interoperability. So traditional market infrastructure, that we're accustomed to, and digital market infrastructure with multiple blockchains are going to interoperate. As I've kind of touched upon, we've seen a lot of hype in the industry around non-fungible tokens, or as we abbreviate NFTs, but it's a lot of uncertainty around fate, legal ownership of the intellectual property, etc. So we're going to see NFTs legal and in turn finance, because ultimately, when we talk about the democratization element, whether it's early stage artists, musicians and other players, there's a real ability to harness this asset class in the right way and provide finance into those sectors, which can be game changing for the development of artists and musicians, etc. So we're going to see a lot of increasing activity there, but a lot more trust established and mechanisms for that. And there's interesting Indian companies working on that, as well as other companies globally that we speak to all the time. And we're also going to see an increasing amount of data analytics and artificial intelligence convergence with blockchain as well. And the two technologies really begin to create opportunities in terms of business use of technology. And really, decentralized finance, institutional players find it challenging to utilize it because of know your client and anti-money laundering concerns. But we're also see a term I call regulated DeFi come into the fore, so that institutions can use it with trust that their reputations aren't going to be compromised because they're interacting with bona fide activity as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that was the end of the question. Thank you so much for your time, Harinder. Before I let you go, I have a small little quiz for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay. It's just a couple of words, a couple of small acronyms that I have. Are you familiar with the first word, OG?
OG?
Yes,
No, tell me.
it means original gangster.
Okay.
Yeah. So in a way, you are the original gangster with the winner of being Hindradhan Award. So it kind of makes you the OG of modern day blockchain, digital asset, and crypto spectrum, so to say. So kind of puts you in the place. My second word is OOTD. Are you familiar with OOTD?
Enlighten me, enlighten me.
Okay, outfit of the day. So usually, if you go on Instagram, people use hashtag OOTD.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yes, so it means outfit of the day, right?
Yeah.
And this is the last one. This one is called AFAIK. AFAIK.
Yeah, tell me.
As far as I know.
Okay.
These are just some WhatsApp or SMS.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, our industry is full of acronyms, and then I guess looking at this, you know, my daughter sort of almost types in acronyms, you know, with the generation. So I think the words of the day for me is must try harder with acronyms.
Well, this was fun. Harinder, thank you so much for your time. We really look
pleasure.
forward to seeing you in India soon. And until then, please do take care. We'll be back.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you, Ayush. And thank you to Media 7.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.